Սիրելի բարեկամներ, այսօրվա մեր հաջորդ ակնարկը ներկայացնում է հայ բժիշկների հերթական գործունեությունը, ինչպես նաև դոկտոր Օհան Քարատոպրակի արած հարցազրույցը բժշկական օգտակար խորհուրդների մասին։
This year marks the 12th anniversary of the community blood drive held at St. Leon's Armenian Church. Assembled by AAHPO, the Armenian Health Professionals Organization, members of the community were pleased with their participation to help those in need.
Once you have a need in your family for blood, you realize how important it is and how easy it is to give.
And you feel good when you do this afterwards because you're giving something from inside to someone else who can help them.
The doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals have made it their mission to ensure the safety and care of their donors.
Today's date, blood donations are very safe. Everything is done under sterile conditions, and we care a lot about our donors in the community.
AAHPO's future plans are to attract more members to be involved in this cause. The work and efforts of AAHPO are widely recognized within the members of our community. Their selfless contribution to Armenia and the Armenian diaspora is very much appreciated by everyone.
Hi, and welcome to AAHPO's TV Health Program. I'm Dr. Ohan Karatoprak. We are continuing taping our part 2 of social media topic at Fairlawn Armenian School. It's with me, Dr. Lynn Cetin, she's a pediatrician, and Dr. Marianne Tateosian, she's a psychiatrist. In the last program, we were discussing about social media, and then we were talking about sexting and texting. Now we will continue with cyberbullying in our discussion. Dr. Tateosian, what's cyberbullying?
Well, I think the first important thing is to define bullying. What is bullying? There's 3 components to bullying. The first of all is that it is an aggressive, unwanted behavior. The second point is that it is repeated over time. The third part is that there's an imbalance between power and strength, between the victim and the perpetrator.
And who are the victims usually?
The victims are usually children who cannot stand up for themselves, who are loners. They are typically the ones that are targeted, the ones who don't have friends to kind of rally behind them.
The support is not there for them.
Right.
Dr. Cetin, what the parents should look into when the kids come home, what kind of signs they should look into that kid, that probably their kids are being bullied?
When children come home from school, the parents really need to engage them in a conversation. What did you do in school today? A lot of kids are going on play dates now, so if there's a child who doesn't seem to have too many invitations to go play with other children or would rather sit in their room alone, then you wonder if that child is either depressed or avoiding somebody. And again, in my office, we ask the children questions. Is somebody bothering you in school? Is somebody teasing you? Is somebody bullying you? And a lot of times the kids will actually give you the truthful answer, and they'll mention somebody's name, and the parents will be very surprised that their children are actually having a problem. So it's engaging in a conversation.
Dr. Tateosian, let's define the cyberbullying anyway. We didn't define. And then tell me about the bullier, the character of the bullier.
Okay.
What that person's parents should do or should look into.
Okay. So cyberbullying is basically bullying that takes place using electronic technology. So this can be tablets, cell phones, computers, any of those things, and using bullying.
Bullying, right.
Yes.
And usually can happen at any time of the day. It could be happen in the school, it could be outside of the school.
In school, outside of school.
Is there any difference between picture texting or just texting alone in the cyberbullying?
Well, I think you mean between maybe sexting.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
these type of
Yes.
sexting and cyberbullying.
Right.
Yeah, sexting is different, but it can also lead to cyberbullying, because if the person sends an explicit picture of themselves to somebody else, let's say a girlfriend to a boyfriend, and then they get into an argument or they break up, this boyfriend can then send it to his friends and send it to the rest of the school, and then the girl can be labeled in the school and everybody can start to bully her. So sexting can actually lead to cyberbullying.
Bullying that at the same time. So let's talk about this cyberbullying person that bullies. Now, any parents can detect that their kid is really bullying other kids?
Well, parents always ask me, what if my child is a cyberbully? So there's a
Right.
few steps in this. A lot of the times parents do not have a clue that their child is the cyberbully until the first phone call from either the principal, a teacher, or
parents.
another parent. So your first job as the parent is to listen to what is being said to you on the other line.
Right.
Acknowledge that there is a problem and ask for a printout a lot of the times, because this is how parents find out, or the teachers. There's some type of evidence online. Ask for a printout and review it. Take this printout and talk to your child. Not confront. Talk to your child.
That's important, not to
There's a
confront.
difference.
It can't be argumentative.
you
It can
confront
be
them-
friendship ways.
Right. If you confront them, it's going to shut down. So
Right.
the whole purpose of the talk is to get the child to acknowledge what they did and to take responsibility. The step after that is to sit with your child and implement consequences. So this is a ban on social media.
Right.
Set down your own rules and guidelines in the house. Make sure the child understands that. Make sure that they can prove to you that they understand it. And then reintroduce privileges back. You can go on Facebook for 10 minutes when I'm watching you, and then 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes, but just know that I have software on the computer that's monitoring you. So there's always going to be an eye on you
Right.
when you're online. So I'm going to
These
watch
are the
what you're
bullying
doing.
kids. Do you think
Right.
that teachers have something to do with that too? They should be able to detect which kids are really being bullied and which kids are bullied actually.
I think that's a huge pressure to put on the teachers. I
teacher.
think the teachers have a lot of responsibility in the classroom already, and it's very hard when you have a huge classroom to kind of pinpoint one child unless they really have a big change in their behavior. They become very irritable, they become very withdrawn.
Right.
Otherwise, the children tend to minimize it and try to fly under the radar, because if the teacher finds out, they could get bullied even more if they say who the bully is. And so
I
a
see.
lot of the times they try to fly under the radar because they don't want it to get worse if an adult finds
Then
out.
there's some issue should be between kids themselves. So what would you advise to children, say, if they find out that one of their friends are being bullied, what should they do?
Well, it's always good to be truthful. One day you're the bullier, one day you get bullied. So children need to really stick up for each other. So it's important that, they engage in this age group. Kids are friends in groups.
Right.
It's not just single-handed, relationships. So they tend to want to protect each other. So you have to tell them who's being bullied, how can we help them, and
I'm sure
also-
there are some laws about this cyberbullying, sexting. Do you think that those laws should be reminded by teachers and parents? They should know first what is that, and they should teach to the kids that about this.
I mean, there's really no laws about
No.
sexting. I mean, sexting is kind of a moral thing you instill in your children. You don't walk down the school hallway naked, so you shouldn't be taking pictures of yourself and sending it, to millions of people with the press of a button. But there are rules about privacy, so your child should not be signing up for Facebook and these social media sites if they're less than the age of 13. That's
Here we
the
go.
government.
Okay.
That's the
So
government policy.
There's a policy there.
No, I'm
Right.
sure there are parents out there who allow their 11-year-old, their 9-year-old to engage in social media websites. So what we're instilling there is a parent is allowing their child to lie. So there's one problem right there. And then they're giving them access to a whole world of knowledge that they're not socially and morally, mature yet to understand.
And the worst thing
So-
actually is that sexting between two teenagers is different, and then suddenly sexting becomes an adult and a teenage.
Without the knowledge of the teenager sometimes, because
Right.
they could be on a site thinking that they're speaking to another teenager, when in fact behind that other quote-unquote teenager is a child molester.
Right.
And there's a difference I want to clarify
Let's
in
clarify
sexting.
that. Yes.
Sexting occurs between people of similar age groups, child to
That's what we call
child,
sexting.
adult to
Right,
adult.
right.
When it's adult to child, it's sexual exploitation, which is much different than
so that's
sexting. Even if it involves a cell phone, it's still sexual exploitation.
Exploitation.
There's
And
a
then parents
difference.
should know, kids should know that their picture can go in anybody's hand. And then be conversing, as you said, with an adult without knowing that they're conversing that.
Right.
But I'm sure there's a punishment for that if they get caught, the adult with children.
Yes,
course.
with adult with children, yes. In terms of child to child with these sexting and cyberbullying,
Right.
always, if you're not sure, check with your local law enforcement agency, because new laws are coming up with school shootings now, with children
Good to
committing
know.
suicide because of these things. Laws are changing every day. So the best people to really ask is your local law enforcement agency as to what
Plus,
the new
probably
rules are.
the kids should know those kind of sexting, the pictures could be extremely negative effect on their future jobs, on their future lives, right? I mean, what would you say?
We've heard stories like that even in my office where a child has tried to get a summer job, or we've had people looking for nannies, and they go on these very reputable websites, and the people looking for employment have inappropriate pictures there. And even things like Instagram now, where a lot of the children are getting involved in, where they
Right.
think Instagram is instant, there 1 minute, gone the next. It's not gone. It's not gone. So, children don't really understand beyond tomorrow. And we have to instill in them that there is 5, 10 years down the road, and if they really do want to live safely and happily and reach goals, they can't be putting inappropriate things on the computer.
On the computer, exactly.
If they are embarrassed about anything that goes on the computer, if they are not willing to show it on a piece of paper or to their parent, then it doesn't belong on the computer.
Right. So let's give some advice to parents, because I think the kids, obviously, they're not mature, they're not adults, socially they're not, and mentally they're not completely mature yet. So what would be the best advice? First, let's talk about the sexting, and then let's talk about cyberbullying. What should we tell parents? What kind of advice they should give to their kids?
Well, the advice for both of them is relatively the same. The best thing that you can have in terms of with your child is a good relationship. If you have a good relationship, open communication with your child, don't overreact. That's a lot of the reason why children don't talk to their parents is because they're afraid that parents are going to overreact, they're going to get punished, or their parents are going to embarrass them.
So,
those are the top 3 reasons.
To the parents, don't overreact. So it's very important to be friend with your kids.
Yeah. It's very important to also, as upset as you may be if your child participates in cyberbullying or sexting, you have to put that anger aside for a minute, understand that they are the victim, and have them talk to you about what the reasons are for doing it, why they did it. Teach them the consequences, because children do not just fall into being responsible adults. They have to be taught by the parents, and this is how you teach them. And it's important to start early. Don't start talking to them about sexting after they sent a sext out. You have to take advantage and talk to them before this becomes a problem for them in their life.
Right.
So open up the dialogue.
Right.
If I may just elaborate on being a role model, yes, we should be friends, we should open up a dialogue with our children, but the bottom line is you're still their parent. So you have to instill ground rules, and you have to be firm. Both parents have to instill the same ground rules with consequences that really matter to these children. And they need to be good role models. So if a parent is in my office and they are with their head down in their cell phone, not paying attention to me, then that child is learning that it's okay to
gonna
be
do the same thing.
disrespectful.
Right.
It's okay not to talk with eye contact to the person next to them. So
And not every parent is obviously capable of handling these things. I think they should know that they should seek help immediately from a psychiatrist, child psychiatrist, or a pediatrician to see really what is the proper way to approach.
Right.
So some parents are, yes, capable of doing that, but some are not. So I guess the advice will be, again, be friend with your kids, listen to them, don't prejudge them.
Right.
Yes, these are
But
all good things.
also be a parent. Also be a parent.
Also be a
Just
parent.
leave that open line of communication so that
Right.
they can feel safe coming to talk to you.
Right.
That's the number one thing.
Thank you, Dr. Cetin. Thank you, Dr. Tateosian. This ends our program here. Don't forget to visit AAHPO's website, www.aahpo.org. You can visit this program and see other many healthcare issues and important issues in AAHPO's website. Until next program, so long.